Oh, yeah.
And now, our feature presentation.
Assalamu alaikum. How are my brothers and sisters? Praise is due to Allah. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, to whom all praise is due, whom we forever thank for giving us as our leader and teacher, the one who's here in America today in the person of the most honorable and humble Elijah Muhammad. Brothers and sisters, first I want to express how thankful I am to Allah for blessing me to be able to be here this afternoon at Muhammad's Mosque to see so many of our people who are interested in the truth that is being spread throughout America today by the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Also, at the outstart, I think Minister John has already explained it, but I would like to hit on it because it was mentioned last night by, what's this man's name, Duggan, after we got off the air. And that was, someone called in and said that whenever they came to Muhammad's Mosque, we searched them. And the answer was that we don't search them, but rather we check them or examine them. And many people, including many Muslims, don't understand why we examine everyone at the door. Oftentimes the conception is given that this examination takes place to protect persons inside the mosque, or to protect the messenger, or to protect the minister. Actually, this is incorrect. You couldn't search anyone we don't search anyone for the purpose of protecting anyone. The people whom we search them to protect them from themselves. I don't think you would argue or dispute the fact that we would look real foolish telling you that we search you thinking you might have something to do someone in here some harm, and then the one we call ourselves protecting will walk around out in the street all day long. Doesn't make sense. But actually, the reason our people are stopped at the door and examined, oftentimes when you come to Muhammad's Mosque for the first time, you'll notice you have things on your person that you don't want anybody to know anything about. And that's why you resent or object to being searched. But when you come here and realize that you're going to be checked before you are allowed to enter, then the next time you come, you don't even have to be reminded when you get at the door before you leave home. Anything that you don't want anybody to know, you leave it at home. Or anything that you don't want that you know you don't have any business having on your person, you leave it at home. This is why you're checked. This is why you are examined. What's happening here is you are being taught step by step the importance of what you carry on your person. That's the only reason for it. You're taught not to come here with alcohol on your breath. If you find out that you can't get in with alcohol on your breath, you won't come the next time with alcohol on your breath. Which means that you have to abstain from alcohol in order to come here. No one is telling you don't drink, but you can't come here while you're drinking. So if you want to come, you have to stop drinking. Still, you're not being forced. So I just take time to mention this to give us a better understanding. Also, if you know that you can't get in here with a gun in your pocket, or a knife in your pocket, or an ice pick in your purse, as many of you carry, then you leave those things home when you're on the way here. And between home and here, you find out you didn't need that thing anyway. So what we're doing is teaching you in a very nice, polite way that these things just aren't necessary. And those who have been coming to Muhammad's Mosque for a long time, actually, they don't even need examining anymore, because the ritual that we've been placed through automatically in itself is sufficient to teach us the things that we should carry on our person and the things that we shouldn't carry on our person. And all any of you have to do is look in the box sometime when we have a big rally and when we check our people out. And if you see what we pick up out of Negroes' pockets, why, you'd have searching done at the church and everywhere else people congregate. So I just wanted to take time to mention this. Never think that you are searched here because it's for the purpose of protecting someone. We seek protection from Allah. And the protection for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad comes from Allah. When you see those of us who are Muslim brothers escorting the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, it's not because he needs us to protect him, but rather out of our love for him. We feel duty-bound to put forth every effort within our power to see that he is escorted and honored wherever he goes. But he doesn't look to us for protection, because you and I actually don't have sense enough to protect each other. We don't have sense enough to protect ourselves. So a wise man, a man of God, a religious man, he never looks to others for protection. He only looks to God for protection. Do you understand? So as Muslims, you and I should never give people the impression that searching is done at our mosque or at our meeting for the purpose of protecting our meeting. No. When you're having a religious service, things that aren't conducive to a religious spirit should be left at home. And the Negroes have been used to carrying guns, knives, blackjacks, and don't think I'm stereotyping or dragging our people by saying this. I'm telling you what Negroes are used to carrying. Now, you can get all uppity and say, oh, no, not me. Well, we don't take time with a microscope to see if you're different. We take all of us on the same level. They search everybody who comes through the door. Those who have been coming for 20 years, they are still patted down like everybody else. And no one resents it other than the crook who has something that he wants to hide. And since none of our people here in this audience are crooked, you don't find any of these people showing any sign of resentment. Is that understood? Secondly, I would like to hit on something else quickly before going into our short subject for today, and that is last night, the book that I was showing Duggan was this book here. It's a UNESCO Courier. It's put out by the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. And so to show you how Allah always backs up any honest effort that's put forth by a believer and follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, what I was showing him was this picture here of these statues that were found over in Egypt, Upper Egypt, of black men that were placed there or carved out of solid granite thousands of years ago. And if you notice, he didn't ever turn it toward the camera. He kept it down. Well, I started to turn it toward the camera, but I didn't. I was trying to be polite. And at that point. And but today in the Los Angeles Times on page 2, they have this same picture. You look in today's Los Angeles Sunday Times, and they have a story on page 2 about this temple over in Africa. They call it Egypt, but Egypt is in Africa. And the value of which is so tremendous, it points out how the United Nations is trying to float a loan of around $30 million to save this temple from being covered by the waters that will be brought up by this Aswan Dam that they're trying to build over there. And this thing is so shrewdly done that the average Negro will look at it and read it, and because it says Egypt, he never identifies it with him or him with it. It shows you how shrewd the white man is. But when all you have to do is look at the features of the thing, and you can see, brother, they got all the features that the white man says Negroes have. But because it is associated or connected with something of such value, archaeological and historic, anthropological value, the white man tries to steal it for himself and says, no, these are white people, these aren't black people. Now, this is the basic reason why the white man accuses the Honorable Elijah Muhammad of teaching black supremacy. Because what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is teaching you and me opens our eyes to the point where we can look back in history and see that our history was actually superior to the history of the white man. In fact, our culture was the best. And best does mean supreme. So when the white man accuses the Honorable Elijah Muhammad of teaching black supremacy, what he's doing actually is admitting that what Mr. Muhammad is doing is teaching the black man how to recognize and understand his true history. And our true history is supreme when you compare it to the history of the white man. So you get this, the Los Angeles Times today, and read page 2, and look at this for yourself. Look closely at it, and then, and if you notice, you'll also read in there where the United States is on record as being against putting out the money necessary to save this archaeological wonder. They're against it. And it tells you in the paper that they're against it. They want to let it go on and go beneath the waves. There was a time when America would be for preserving something like that. Because in those days, the black man was so dead mentally, he could look right at it and wouldn't know he was looking at himself. He looked right at it and wouldn't know he was looking at himself. But now the American white man knows that the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in this country is opening your and my ear, opening your and my mind, opening our eyes to the point where we can see. We can think for ourselves. We can weigh things for ourselves. We can analyze for ourselves. And today, when we see a black man, we know that's a black man. Whether they call him an Egyptian, a Re-Egyptian, or an Ab-Egyptian. Don't care what they call him. All you got, if he look like you, he's the same thing as you. And this man that they have here, brothers and sisters, it has nothing but the features of a pure black man. Also, they tell me that there's an exhibition going on in Los Angeles right now somewhere about King Tut. Where is that? Some kind of museum. Where is it? Exposition. Where is it? Oh, Exposition Park. I saw King Tut's mummy tomb when I was in Egypt. And whether I don't know if they have the same one here, but if you go and see it, you'll find out that this King Tut, whose mummy or sarcophagus, whatever they call it, they have, it's as black as this board. And the white man knows this. Every picture that they have of King Tut, he's not brown. No, he is black, brother, just like this. And the black people who lived in that day had mastered science to such extent, had mastered chemistry to such extent that they could create colors that the dye hasn't faded to this day. Now, you know this. The white man got to paint his house every year. You got to paint yours, inside and out. You haven't got a piece of cloth at home that won't fade if you put it in the sun. But yet these black people back there could make dye that has retained the color, same grade, quality, right down to the day from 5,000 and 6,000 years ago. They were master chemists. And this tomb, and I guess this mummy, is gold encrusted. They had so much gold back then. In fact, those were the people who discovered gold. They knew what gold was. White man didn't know what gold was. And they encrusted their mummies with gold and beautiful colors and just laid them there. And finally, when the white man discovered them, he was shook up and wondered, how could these people back so long ago, supposed to be dumb, know so much about so much, know so much about so many things that he doesn't know about today. And usually when he projects these findings, these wonders, these relics from the past, when he projects them into this particular society now, our poor, dumb people, number one, they usually don't go and look at it. You don't find very many Negroes in museums. No, they don't. They go to the ballpark, to the ball game, and they don't even go to the zoo. You seldom find Negroes in a museum or in some place where there is something that's going to teach them something. And again, I'm not knocking Negroes saying this. I'm talking to you and me. As Minister John said, there's no strangers here today. We're having a little family chat. And when you have a family chat, you can talk the faults as well as the liabilities as well as the assets. And once you pull out these liabilities, you can correct them. You can go out to any museum and you'll find white people, white women, white mothers, white parents taking their little children through the museum, showing them this and showing them that. Why, our women don't do that. And because you don't do that, you actually leave a vacuum in the mind of your child. So now I don't know what this exhibition consists of these Egyptian relics that's on display out here. But as Allah blessed me to see it when I was in Egypt at the Cairo Museum, all of these splendors that belong to that ancient civilization along the Nile that has shocked the white man are relics right out of the past of the black man. And as a rule, you don't have any white man who doesn't know this. He will only contend with you if he thinks that you don't know what you're talking about. But then when the deal goes down, if he won't admit that they're outright black, he'll say, well, they got black blood. He's hard for him to admit the full truth, but if you can get him to admit a little bit of truth, the Negro will wake up, because the only truth he accepts is truth that he has come from the lips of the white man. Can you understand this? So I take time to mention that quickly, and you read the Los Angeles Times. I'm not a press agent for the Los Angeles Times, but if it has something in it that's of value, it's good for you and me to go and pick it up and study it for ourselves, and save those kind of things. And then when you're in a discussion with one of these crackers who are trying to bring you and me down, drop it on him. Say, look, boss, what I found in your paper. This man looked just like me. He don't look like you. And that ends it. Also, the other book that you saw him looking through that he wouldn't make any comment out of whatsoever was this one. He never commented out of this one, because this is also put out by the United Nations. And both of these are hard to come by. This one isn't as hard to come by as this one, but this one is called Africa's Lost Past, the startling rediscovery of a continent. And this was put together by professors who were commissioned by the nations that belong to the UN after the Africans got their independence. After the Africans got their independence, they expressed complete indignation over the misrepresentation that the African continent had received while they were under the domination of the white man. So they pressured the UN to take some of the leading scientists of this day to delve into the true history of Africa and compile a pamphlet on the lost civilizations. And so this book is a record put out by the UN, endorsed by the UN, which means it has the recognition and endorsement of all civilized, free, and independent nations on this earth. And in this book, it tells you, in a nutshell, about the Islamic civilizations that existed in Africa in the 8th century. The Islamic civilization, you know what that means? Muslim civilization. It means, please, it means that the Muslim empire, that the Muslim religion, that the Muslim culture, Muslim civilization was throughout West Africa in the area called Ghana, Guinea, Ivory Coast, Gold Coast, Nigeria, all down through there. Vast Muslim empire in the 8th century. You know what I mean by 8th century? In the year 700 something. Wait a minute. 8th century. Yeah, right? Yeah, 700 something. This means 800 years before America was discovered. 800 years before America was discovered. 800 years before you were kidnapped and brought here. I have to emphasize kidnapped and brought here, because some of y'all think you come over here as pilgrims on the Mayflower. But 800 years before our forefathers were kidnapped and brought here, the white man admits today that the Islamic civilization, the Muslim civilization, stretched throughout Africa. And he has to admit it now. And just to read you one paragraph from this book to show you why he didn't want to go into it. And frankly, in one of our court cases in Buffalo, New York, a couple of weeks ago, the white man, because he couldn't get a Muslim to testify against Mr. Muhammad, he went to Columbia University and found a Jew professor who was supposed to have been an expert on Islam. And he paid this Jew to come as his witness for the state and try and prove that Mr. Muhammad wasn't a real Muslim, and also that there was no Islamic culture in Africa, that it's wrong to tell Negroes that we should be Muslims now because we were Muslim then, because there was no Muslim civilization in Africa. This is what this old man testified to, white man. So naturally, Allah blessed us to have this book from the UN, and he had to recognize it. Here in one paragraph it says, but the ancient capital of Ghana has another claim to distinction. It was the cradle of the Negro Islamic culture which flourished in the Sudan from the 8th century to our own day. Think of that. Bringing to fame such centers as Timbuktu and Djinn. Now, you know, brothers and sisters, you and I never heard of Timbuktu. When I was in school, they talked that Timbuktu talk. I thought Timbuktu was in California. And I went to school in Michigan. They never let us know that Timbuktu was in Africa. But here now they are saying that Timbuktu was one of the centers of learning in an Islamic civilization that existed in Africa 700 or 800 years before America was discovered. This is good. And when the man was trying to say that there was no, he also went on, but they read this paragraph, which said, in some ways, the most valuable of all the Arab sources are the first-hand reports of the two, as far as I know, the only two Arab traveler authors who made extensive journeys through the Western Sudan. And by Western Sudan in those days, they meant Africa. All of Africa was called the Sudan, because Sudan is an Arabic word that means, it's plural for black. When you say Sudan, you're talking about the land of the blacks. So here, it's speaking of these two Arabs who made journeys through the Western Sudan, which means West Africa. Ibn Battuta and Leo Africanus. Both were remarkable men. Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Battuta, notice how they call him, they didn't say Jim Jones. Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Battuta, that's the kind of name you had before you came here, was born at Tangier in 1304. Pick up on this, 1304. America wasn't discovered until 1492. That's almost 200 years later. And spent the greater part of his life traveling through the Muslim world of his day, visiting Arabia, Asia Minor, Khorasan, India, China, and Indonesia, as well as West Africa. You notice now what he said. He traveled through the Muslim world. And all of these countries that he traveled in were parts of the Muslim world. And he said, as well as West Africa. And see, the white men have taught you and me that in Africa, West Africa, people was eating, they were cannibals, like this cracker tried to say last night on the television. Which he reached in 1352. At this time, the empire of Mali still dominated the Western Sudan, and Ibn Battuta gives an extremely interesting and human account of some of its institutions. Here's what he says. Speaking in the year 1352, 100 and some years before the discovery of America, quote, the Negroes possess some admirable qualities. Now what you have to understand is, he didn't say Negroes, because he wrote this in Arabic. And these white professors have translated what Ibn Battuta wrote in Arabic into English. And so they're saying Negroes, but wherein Battuta, when he wrote it, he didn't say Negroes, because they didn't call black people Negroes in those days. See, you have to know all this in order to really read between the lines. The Negroes, meaning us, this is before America was discovered, possess some admirable qualities. They are seldom unjust, have a greater abhorrence of injustice than any other people. Now pick up on it. Here this man, before America is discovered, is talking about black people are different from white people. Isn't that what he said? He said black people are against injustice. Black people are more so against injustice than any other people are against injustice. Why, this follows, you know the white man is not against injustice. He wouldn't have this country if he was. And he wouldn't have you here if he was. You wouldn't be as dumb as you are if the white man was against injustice. Don't be angry when I say you wouldn't be as dumb as you are. Because when I say, I mean we, all of us, we're all in the same boat. And we're dumb. Don't say we're not. How are we going to be in this boat if we weren't dumb? You can't put a wise man in this kind of shape, and we're in bad shape. You don't get in this kind of shape being wise. You get in this kind of shape being dumb. Right or wrong? Let's see. So he says here, their sultan, meaning their ruler, shows no mercy to anyone who is guilty of the least act of injustice. Without, you see, our civilization then was so right. It was right. Didn't have nothing but justice. No crime, no stealing, No fairies running around like you got throughout the Negro community today. There is complete security in their country. Talking about the civilization where you and I live. Complete security. No robbers. No murderers. Rather, this actually is describing heaven. This is what the man is doing. He is describing a civilization that has such high morals, such a high sense of morality, that it's almost like being in heaven. Neither traveler nor inhabitant in their country has anything to fear from robbers or men of violence. They are careful to observe the hours of prayer. On Fridays, if a man does not go early to the mosque, he cannot find the corner to pray in on account of the crowd. So many people go to the mosque to pray on Friday. The man says that if you don't get there ahead of time, you can't get in. Because these people, by nature, are religious. These people, by nature, turn to Allah to give praise and to give thanks. Brother, this is being written 200 years before the white man knew that the earth was round. Another of their good qualities is their habit of wearing clean white garments on Fridays. Now you see why the slaves used to sing that song about they're going to die and put on a long white robe? Because see, you and I found ourselves so far from home, we didn't find no hope of getting back. We thought we were going to have to die and sprout some wings and get back over there. And our concept of heaven was what? Long white robe. Why? Because we came from heaven. Heaven was home. Heaven was our home. Heaven was our homeland. Heaven was our homeland. Now the Beulah's land isn't up yonder. Beulah's land is over yonder. You're Beulah. And back home, everyone wore white. So it says, another of their good qualities is their habit of wearing white garments on Friday. You have to be clean to wear white. You got to stay clean to wear white. You just can't. That's why they don't wear no white people. They're not white conscious because they don't stay clean enough. And the average so-called Negro right now can't wear white. He wear them a red shirt, blue shirt, green shirt, every kind of shirt but a white shirt because he take a bath once a week. In order to wear a white shirt, you got to take a bath in order to put it on. Right or wrong? Right. Even if a man has nothing but an old shirt, he washes it and cleans it and wears it to the Friday service. This is not being written last year. This is being written by a scientist who explored your and my country 200 years before the white man knew that America was here. And he's describing it. And it was to such perfection that it has been handed down, and you think he was talking about the followers of Mr. Muhammad today. And he says, yet another of their qualities is their zeal for learning the Quran by heart. What was their religion? It must have been Islam. They learned the Quran by heart. And now, brothers and sisters, despite this description of your and my people, the level that we were on culturally, spiritually, intellectually, academically, politically, socially, and otherwise, 200 years before the discovery of America, oh, look at us now. What happened to us? How could it be possible for someone to function and live and exist at such a high level then and come down to such a low level today? How could it be possible for you and me to be at such a high cultural level that the scientists of that day wrote books about us and marveled at us, and many relics of our civilization served as the wonders of the ancient world? And today, everybody is looking at us in wonder, wondering how we could come from so high to so low in such a short period of time. So I take time to mention that to show you why he wouldn't go into this book. Both of these books are tough books, and it's called the UNESCO Courier, and sometimes you can write to the UN and ask them how can you subscribe to it, because there is much in these that you won't find in any other book. This is an international publication, which means it's beyond the control of the American white man. And the only time the black man in America is going to have access to some truth, it has to be truth that the white man in America has no control over. This is why it's possible to come to the mosque and get undiluted truth, naked truth, Because the truth that you and I have comes from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he's out of the control of the white man. White man doesn't control what Mr. Muhammad says. White man doesn't control what Mr. Muhammad does. The white man doesn't control Mr. Muhammad's program, Mr. Muhammad's teaching. And the white man can't control Mr. Muhammad's followers. All praise is due to Allah. And he worries about that which he can't control. You would too. If you got some children at home and you can't control them, you worry about them. Because you don't know what they're going to do next. White man is the same way. When you see him acting cool and calm next to a Negro, he knows everything under control. But when you see him start screaming at the top of his lungs about some Negroes, he is telling you there's something about those Negroes I can't handle anymore. And what he can't handle is he can't handle those who have been taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He know when we smile, it don't go no farther than our lips. Just like when he smiled at us, his smile doesn't go any farther than the lips. And we have learned the same thing. We have smiled at him, and it doesn't go any farther than the lips. Smile at him and shake his hand. Just like he's been smiling and shaking our hand. We smile and shake his hand today and shake his head tomorrow. Why is everyone so worried about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? Why is the white man so concerned about Mr. Muhammad? What is it about Mr. Muhammad that makes him so much different from other black people? What is it about him that makes him so different, that makes them so concerned, that makes them jump when his name is mentioned, or makes them so that they don't even want to mention his name? They're not anxious to question him. You heard a man say, will he come on the program? They don't want him on the program. They want someone dumb like me on there because they know I don't have the answers. Only way I can answer is to remember what Mr. Muhammad said. Mr. Muhammad don't have to remember. He got an answer as soon as they put the question there. You see how they're trying to play you one against the other? Haven't you got a mind of your own? You know what he said? Can't you speak for yourself? That's the white man's way of building a Negro up. Well, all you got to do to knock a Negro down is tell him, haven't you got a mind of your own? And he'll run out and fight every other Negro just to prove he got a mind of his own. Oh, yes. He'll argue, dispute with every Negro he sees just to prove he got a mind of his own. Don't care how true you are. He's going to argue with you to show you, I got a mind of my own. No, don't ever get that kind of way. You haven't got no mind of your own. You have never had a mind of your own. If you had a mind of your own, you wouldn't be a Negro. If you had a mind of your own, you wouldn't be here. I mean, here in America. You wouldn't be catching the hell that you're catching if you had a mind of your own. You wouldn't be wearing the white man's name if you had a mind of your own. Well, you'd know your own language if you had a mind of your own. And not only do you not know your own language, you didn't even know you ever had an own language. Right or wrong? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad is a normal, natural human being, the same as you and I. He was born of a woman, the same as you and I. He had a father and a mother, the same as you and I. And because he did, that makes him qualified to be a leader and a teacher of you and me. Somebody couldn't lead us who wasn't one of us. He wouldn't understand our problems. He wouldn't know what our shortcomings were. He wouldn't even know how to speak our language. But whenever God chooses someone, God always chooses a man from the midst of the people whose intention it is he intends to, who he intends to save. This old devil's language is something, isn't it? The best way to speak it is don't worry about it. When you start worrying about this white man's language, brother, you're going to be in bad shape. God always finds the people whom he intends to save and then chooses someone from their midst and fixes him, prepares him, teaches him, qualifies him. And after filling the head of that one with supreme wisdom, divine wisdom, then he uses that one to reach and teach all of the others. An example, it's like all of the electricity that's in the atmosphere, or the electricity that comes from the powerhouse. Yet the electricity doesn't come from the powerhouse right into the light. It has to go through a what? A transformer. No, it goes through a transformer. If you put all that power in that line, it would burn the lines up. But it shot into the transformer, and the transformer breaks it down and fixes it or prepares it to go into the wire. And God is the same way. God is a powerhouse, a powerful source of light, heat, energy, and wisdom. And instead of coming and appearing right in front of the people and showering them with his spiritual light, it would kill them. It would burn them up. So God always appears and takes a man and transforms him and uses him as a transformer who will break down his great powerful energy and let him shoot it into the people. In the days of Noah, Noah was a transformer for God. In the days of Lot, Lot was a transformer for God. In the days of Moses, Moses was a transformer for God. Today, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is God's transformer. Do you understand? It is he who transforms the truth, divine truth, and makes it so plain that we fools can understand. We couldn't take it from God. Oh, don't say you could, because you couldn't. We couldn't take it from God. And God knows we couldn't take it from him. In the days of Noah, they couldn't hardly take it from Noah. How are they going to take it from God? And in the days of Lot, they couldn't hardly take it from Lot. How are they going to take it from God? And in the days of Moses, they couldn't hardly take it from Moses. How are they going to take it from God? And right now, you and I can't hardly take it from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. How are you going to take it from God? So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is a normal, natural human being. He differs from you and me in that God has transformed him. God has chosen him from our midst, fixed him up, cleaned him up, and prepared him, qualified him as an agent for God, or a representative for God, or a messenger for God. And today, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad acts in that capacity in the midst of the American so-called Negroes. He's a normal man. Never begin to think in spooky terms about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He's a flesh and blood man, born of a woman and had a father and a mother. No miraculous birth, no Holy Ghost, nothing like that. No spirit jumped on him and told him, go and teach your people. Nothing spooky or mysterious is in any way connected with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Everything connected with him can be understood in terms of reality. This is what makes it so beautiful. He was born in Georgia. That's real, brother. When you're born in Georgia, you know you were born. Born in the cotton fields of Georgia. Has a wife. Married man. Is a husband. Is a father of 6 sons and 2 daughters. A family man who only went to the 5th grade in school. Some people say, well, I thought he went to the 3rd grade. I used to say that he went to the 3rd grade because I thought that's all the farther he went. But one day I was in a conversation with him, and he told me, I mentioned about the 3rd grade. He said he went to the 5th grade. He said, but when you go to school in Georgia, the 5th grade is the same as the 3rd grade. In fact, the 12th grade is the same as the 1st grade. Now, I'm not knocking Georgia education, but I had a couple aunts who were old maids, and both of them were teachers in Georgia. And if they were teachers in Georgia, I say that whoever they taught was in bad shape, because they were in bad shape. So he went to the 5th grade in Georgia to school, and his father was a preacher, same as most of y'all got fathers preachers. Practically every old Negro in this country, his father was a preacher. Right or wrong? Didn't know how to do nothing else but preach. My father was a preacher, and I know he didn't know what he was preaching. And if your father is one, he doesn't know what he's preaching. I had to put mine in there first so I could get at yours. Otherwise, you'd have thought I was putting you somewhere. But I've heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad say that when he was a child, he always read the Bible. There was something about the Bible that attracted his attention. He always used to read it. And as he would read through it, tears would come down his face. He knew that there was something in it that needed to be understood. He said even in his dumb state, before he was awakened and enlightened with divine understanding, when he would read that book, tears, he couldn't read it without tears coming down his cheek. He didn't understand it, but he said he knew he didn't understand it. Whereas most Negroes read it and don't understand it and don't know that they don't understand it. But his lack of understanding of the book tore at his heart and brought tears down his cheek. And before his mother died, I used to spend many hours in long conversation with her, and she used to tell about when her children were young, how different the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was. She named him Elijah, and she said that he was different. He was different than all of her other sons. She had 13 children, and he was the 7th child born to her. And that 7th child of hers was always different. And she did say that one day when she herself was only 7 years old, a little girl, she had a vision that she was going to have a son that would be different and would do a great work during his lifetime. And when she grew up and had 13 children, she didn't know that this was going to happen in her family. But yet she did know that there was something about her son Elijah that made him different from all her other sons and daughters. And even right today, when you look at the family of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he has, I think it is 3 brothers living right now, all of whom are Muslims. Though he is the oldest one of his living brothers, he looks to be the youngest. He looks like a little boy sometimes. Sometimes when you look at him, he looks very old. And right while you're looking at him, he looks real young. When he's burdened, he looks old. When he has great problems, he looks old. And it seems like when he turns to Allah, that Allah lifts his burden from his shoulders, and he looks younger than you and I do. He acts younger than you and I do. He has more life, more energy, more spirit. He talks like a young man. He doesn't talk like a man 64 and 65. He don't talk that old talk. He don't wear old clothes. He dressed like a young man. He think like a young man. He move like a young man. And you and I who follow him, we feel like young men. Right or wrong? All praise is due to Allah. So Mother Muhammad, her name was Marie, used to tell how this son of hers was so much different from the other children. And actually, one of the things that makes the Honorable Elijah Muhammad different, he was born with an ingrained love for his people. So you know how some of our people are. Some of our people are just automatically friendly. They're just by nature, they're sympathetic. They are by nature, they want to hear your trouble. They're interested. Then you find others, they don't even want to hear their wife's trouble. Don't want to hear their mother's trouble. Do you understand that? Well, God placed within the Honorable Elijah Muhammad an ingrained love for all of the American so-called Negroes. And his deeply ingrained love for his people made him patient with his people. He has patience with the shortcomings of the so-called Negro. And because he has patience, his love for us gives him patience with us. He's merciful toward us, which in the next sense makes him forgiving toward us. Where we condemn one another, he doesn't condemn us. Where we find fault with one another, he doesn't find fault with us. He doesn't condemn us, he condemns the white man. He doesn't find fault with us, he finds fault with the white man. What do you look like? A child has been bitten by a snake. And because that child is sick with the poison of the snake that's circulating through its system, you're going to condemn the child. Because the child can't move like those that haven't been bitten. Because the child is acting differently. You're going to condemn the victim. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, no, not so. He doesn't condemn the victim, he condemns the snake. And he says that 20 million black people in this country have been victimized by this white snake, or this blue-eyed snake, this snake that has blonde hair. All of the faults, all of the shortcomings that you see existing among the so-called Negroes in America today, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, we're not at fault, we're not responsible, but the real one who is at fault and responsible is the American white man. So his condemnation is aimed in the right direction. His condemnation gets to the cause, gets to the root, and that's the only way by which our condition can be cured. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad feels our pain. He loves our people so much, when we hurt, he hurts. This is what a leader, this is the type of characteristic a true leader has to have. This is the type of characteristic a true shepherd has to have. And when a shepherd is in pain, when the flock is in pain. A shepherd is sad when the flock is sad. A shepherd is lost when the flock is lost. And this is the way the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is. This is not the way your and my leaders have been in the past. In the past, the leaders of the so-called Negro, they wanted you to be sad when they were sad. They wanted you to be in pain when they were in pain. But they were never in pain when you were in pain. Right or wrong? This is what makes the Honorable Elijah Muhammad different. He doesn't want you to feel his pain. He doesn't want you to carry his load. He doesn't want you to carry his responsibilities. He wants to carry your responsibility. He wants to carry your burden. He don't want you to relieve him of his pain, but by nature he wants to relieve the so-called Negroes of our pain. Can you understand this? This is his nature. He can't help himself. He was born this way. Our hurt is his hurt. Another thing that makes him so different, he has complete power and complete authority over all Muslims who follow him. Yet he's our brother. There's not a black man in America who's in a position of leadership, who exercises the power and authority, unilateral power and authority over his followers, that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad does. And at the same time, you don't have a black man who can act as humble around his followers as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad does. He is the most humble one of all of us. He doesn't act as a lord over us, but he acts as a servant unto all of us. Am I right or wrong? Why, you can't deny it. He doesn't come saying, I'm the boss. He comes acting the part of a servant. This is why his followers love him. This is why his followers follow him. This is why his followers will die for him. All the Honorable Elijah Muhammad got to do is raise his hand. We'll lay down our lives. Not only will we lay down ours, we'll take yours. By yours, I don't mean yours. I mean whoever gets bad. So I don't mean yours because you got too much sense to get bad. Right or wrong? You don't have no reason getting bad with us. You and I are the same. What you look like getting bad with us? No, you need to get bad with the man who's been getting bad with you. Why, you look out of your mind getting bad with us and haven't yet gotten bad with the man. No, if you were bad, get bad with the man. And if you've already gotten bad with him, then you might be within your rights coming around here getting bad with us. Right or wrong? All praise is due to Allah. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is our brother. He's our servant. And at the same time, he's our leader. He's our teacher. He's our guide. He's all of these things to us. He's the pattern. He's the example after which we pattern ourselves. All of our good behavior, the good behavior that you see displayed by Muslims, comes from our patterning ourselves after the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Our faults, the faults that you see us display comes from our patterning ourselves after the white man. Can you see the difference? You can spot a Negro who believes in the white man. He acts just like the white man. Talk like him. Think like him. Walk like him. Feels like him. When the white man is hot, he's hot. When the white man is sad, he's sad. When the white man is glad, he's glad. But a Muslim who follows the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the white man is glad, I'm sad. White man is saying, I'm glad. All I need to know is in order to determine how I'm going to be, how is he? And whatever he is, I'm the opposite. The love that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has for us is what gives him patience with us. Like Moses. Moses loved his people. Do you know, couldn't nobody put up with those old hard-headed Hebrews like Moses did unless he sure enough loved them. Moses loved the Hebrews more than God did. At one time, I shouldn't say that, but I'll tell you what I mean. Because I don't know how much God loved them. That's why I qualify that thing real quick. All praise is due to Allah. See, I don't want to make no mistakes. Not with God. I make them with the white man, but I don't want to make them with God. If you notice, the Hebrews were so hard-headed, so stiff-necked, so poisonous, until after God had proved that he was God by smiting Pharaoh, the slave master, with all kinds of plagues, after that same God had proven his power by leading them through the Red Sea, enabling them to escape the clutches of Pharaoh, the slave master, and further proved his power by drowning the slave master, and then further proved his power by feeding them in the wilderness where there was no food. He made what they call some manna come down out the sky, give them a drink of water by helping Moses just hit the rock and make the water come out. He proved that he was God all the way along the line. And then when he got arrived to the promised land, told them, okay, there she is, go take it, they rebelled against her. Now, you know, those were some tough people. They were about the same as this American so-called Negro. After displaying all this power, still they challenged God. When God said, there's the promised land, go take it. That's all you got to do is go and walk in. They said, no, there's some giants over there. Imagine here, God had knocked down the giant, Pharaoh, had knocked down the Red Sea, had knocked down the rock, had knocked down everything that got in his path. And then when they got right to the promised land, those hard-headed, hard-hearted, stiff-necked, so-called Hebrews began to argue with Moses, began to argue with their leader, with their teacher. Say, you don't know what you're talking about. What you mean, go over there? That's too much. There's some giants over there. So God said to Moses, get out the way. I'm going to wipe these people out. Isn't that what he said? Get on back out. I'm going to wipe them out. They don't want to do what you say after all this power you done displayed. And they had never seen God, you know. All they saw was Moses. God was making Moses. God was making Moses God. He made Moses a God in front of them. So he didn't come on the scene and get the credit. Moses was the one that smoked the rock. Moses didn't have to smoke the rock. God could have made the water come out whether Moses smote it or not. But God was proving to them that this was the man he wanted them to follow. So he said, smite the rock, Moses, and the water going to come out. Do you understand this? So finally when Moses had showed them that he was with God and God was with him, even though they couldn't see God, and they still rebelled, God told Moses, get on out the way. I'm going to wipe these people out. They're not worth me wasting my time with. I done brought them all through hell. Showed that I got more power than the slave master. Got more power than the Red Sea. Got more power than the rock. And they're still going to rebel. Step aside, Moses. We brought them far enough. Moses turned to God and said, please, don't destroy these people. Think of that. Here's Moses disputing with God over some worthless people. Here's Moses contending with God over some worthless people. People that weren't worth 2 cents. They was just about like you and me. Moses acted as a lawyer for his people in front of the judge. Moses told God, I know they're not worth saving, but they got your name. if you won't save them for their sake, save them for your name's sake. It has been rumored that you are with them. So everybody is saying that you're with these people. Everybody is saying that you have appeared in their midst. Now, if you lead them to rot or to die, they'll say, here was the God couldn't deliver his people. Deliver them for your name's sake. We know they're not worth 2 cents, but save your name. You've already put your name on them. You've already said they're yours. Now you're going to turn them loose? People will say you didn't have the power to finish what you come here for. That's Moses talking to God. You and I couldn't talk to God like that. But Moses could talk to God. Moses was tight with God. Moses and God were just like the same. God had chosen Moses as his spokesman and had put a heavy responsibility on him. And it was what you call incumbent. What's a shorter word? He was obligated. I know you don't know nothing about no incumbent, do you? He was duty bound to back Moses up, to support Moses, right or wrong. So Moses told him, if you don't want to save him because of their worth, save him for your name. But God was wise. Show you how wise he was. He knew Moses had him. But see, he was all wise. So he told Moses, you're right. I'll save him for my name's sake. But not these. I'll make them wander in the wilderness. They'll still keep my name. But they have worked my patience to its end. I'll send them back into the wilderness and let them rot 40 years wondering. Then they're little children who still have my name. I'll take them and give them the promised land. That's something to think about, isn't it? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad is just like Moses. He was born in Georgia. When you're born in Georgia, you're born in double bondage. Just as Moses loved his people so much that he would act in their defense despite their shortcomings, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad acts in defense of the so-called Negro despite our shortcomings. He forgives us our faults because he knows before God cleaned him up, he had faults. He knows he had weaknesses. He knows he had shortcomings. And because he had all these things himself, he understands ours. And the book did. God told Moses that in the last day, when our people would be in this condition, and we in bad shape, he told Moses, I will raise them up, one from the midst of them, just like thee. And he'll do for them as you have done for your people. And you and I cannot deny that our condition in America is the same as the condition that Moses found his people in the land of Egypt. And we need a man like Moses. We need somebody who can do for us what Moses did for his people. And somebody who will have as much patience with us as Moses had for his people. Somebody who will be as forgiving with us as Moses was forgiving with his people. And that man God has placed in our midst, or raised from our midst, in the person of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He's a Moses to us. He's a Lot to us. He's a Noah to us. He's a Daniel to us. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad left Georgia with his family and moved to Detroit. And back in those days, in 1930 and 29, and the country was in bad shape. And Detroit was in worse shape. There was a depression. Negroes were jobless, on the welfare. There was a great deal of dissatisfaction and disillusionment. And it was at that time, in that year, in that atmosphere, that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad first began to listen to the teachings of a man whom he then knew as Mr. Farad. Mr. Farad. Mr. Farad was a little, short, 5'6", 130-pound black man with oily black hair, light brown skin, who appeared in Detroit going from door to door in the Negro neighborhood, selling silks, selling goods from the East. And as he would enter the homes of our people in Detroit, he would tell them, I'm your brother from the East. These silks that I have are the kind of silks your people wear back home. That shook our people up because they didn't know they came from back home. They thought they were from down home. He used to tell them about the glorious culture in the East that our people had. And as he would talk to our people, he got the ear of many of them. They used to convene in different ones' homes, in the home of different ones, in order to discuss what Master Farad was teaching. First they knew him as Mr. Farad. And as they began to listen to his teaching, they called him Master Farad, because he taught like no other man ever taught. The interest of the so-called Negroes in Detroit in what Master Farad was teaching began to increase. Their numbers began to increase. There were too many of them to come into a home, so they rented a hall. They got together and took up a collection and rented a hall. And the crowd outgrew the hall. They had to get a larger hall. And there were so many thousands of people wanting to hear what Master Farad was teaching. They couldn't all get in at one time. This was back in 1930, 31, 32, 33. So he used to teach in shifts. There'd be crowds outside trying to get in. Nothing inside but black people. They didn't let nobody come in but black. No white folks allowed. That was the first law, first rule, first practice. He told them, I'm your brother from the East. My name is, so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that they taught in shifts, that Master Farad would let a packed auditorium come in and teach them for an hour or so, and then put them all out and let another crowd come in. Sometimes he would teach for 24 hours. They never saw him sleepy. They never saw him tired. They never saw him stop. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that he was with him for 3.5 years and never saw him close his eyes to go to sleep one time. That didn't mean he didn't sleep, but the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who was with him the most, said that he never saw him go to sleep. Said that one night, they were in a hotel together, and he wondered, did this man ever go to sleep? So he went and was supposed to have gone into the room to sleep. And that is, Mr. Muhammad said he went to go to sleep, and he wondered, was Master Farad asleep? So he got down to the keyhole. I heard him say he got down to the keyhole and looked at him, looked in there to see, and Master Farad was standing in front of a dresser, a looking glass, a mirror, looking in the mirror, and it looked like he was looking at the keyhole, looking at him. He was a wise man. What message was it he taught that made so many of our people come in throngs to hear him? He taught the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that the American so-called Negroes are the people who are symbolically described in the Bible as lost sheep. He taught thousands of black people in Detroit that the Negro in America is the one that the Bible is talking about as the lost sheep. That the Negro in America is the one that the Bible is talking about as the lost tribes. That the Negro in America is the one that the Bible is talking about as the lost people of God. This was his message. And he said, I am your brother from the East. Your long lost brother from the East. I have come to open your eyes and tell you these things. They say he knew more about the Bible than any man that they had ever listened to. He sounded like he wrote the Bible. He used to talk about the history of Moses and the history of another scientist or prophet named Yaqub and the history of Jesus. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that as Master Farad would talk to them about these biblical characters, he wasn't talking like he was repeating what he had heard somewhere else, but he talked like he was right there with Moses. He talked like a man who was on the scene with Moses. He talked like a man who was on the scene with Jesus. He talked like a man who was on the scene with Daniel and with Abraham. He didn't talk like he was saying something that he heard someone else say, but he talked like someone who was on the scene and had witnessed the lives of these men himself. And he said that the Negro in America was the lost sheep, the lost tribe, or the lost people of God, and that you and I originally belonged to the religion of Islam. He said that Islam was the natural religion of man, that Islam was the name of God's real religion, and that the nation of Islam was the nation to which the black people originally belonged. And he said that the so-called Negroes in America had been lost from their own people for 400 years. And because they had been lost from their own people for 400 years was the reason why they were referred to as the lost sheep or the lost tribe or the lost people of God. But he also taught that his coming, the coming of Master Farad, was for the purpose of finding the so-called Negro, and that he had found them. And he said that these were the people who were lost, but thanks to his coming, they were now found. So he said that we were rightfully described as the lost, found nation of Islam. We had been lost from the nation of Islam for 400 years, but upon the coming of Master Farad from the east, we had been found. Do you understand that? He said that we are the lost, found nation of Islam in the wilderness of North America. Why? You say, how you can call America a wilderness? A wilderness is a place where people are wild. Everything is wild. Wild animals there. Wild people there. In the wilderness, the people are savage and the animals are beasts. Now he said that a savage is a person who has lost the knowledge of himself and living a beast life. A beast is something inhuman. He said the white man is a beast. Oh, this is what he said. And he used this particular adjective or animal or description to describe the white man. He said, in America, the white man is a beast. And our poor people in America, the so-called Negroes, have been lost from the knowledge of ourselves for the past 400 years. And because we have no knowledge of ourselves and our own kind, he said, we've been living a beast life. We've been living like this beast right here. We act like this beast. We think like this beast. We pray the same kind of prayer the beast prays. And we worship the same kind of God that the beast worships. Can you understand that? He said America is a wilderness that is populated by beasts and savages. The white man is a beast and the poor black man is a savage. And he says that all praise is due to him. He also taught our people in that day that the truth about heaven and hell. Up to that time, the preacher in the church, the poor, ignorant preacher, he was ignorant. Think how the preachers used to preach back in 1930. Do you all remember how the preachers preached in 1930? You don't have to put your age in the street, but you remember how they preached. They were ignorant, weren't they? They taught us that hell was someplace down in the ground. Imagine this. Just picture this. It's hard for you to believe it, isn't it? It's hard for you to believe that someone would be dumb enough back then to think that there was a hell in the ground with fire and a devil going to juke you with a fork when you go. You can't picture someone being dumb enough to believe like that, can you? Yes, you can. You believe this yourself. But this is the kind of picture that the preacher gave us of hell. A place that we would die and go to. and somebody with horns and a fox would jug us for the rest of our life after we was dead. Pick up on that. For the rest of our life after we were dead. Why, it don't even make sense. But we believed it. The fires never went out. And you and I had to tend the fire. We'd be shoveling coal all the time, and here the devil jugging us, shovel some more. Brother, how ignorant can you get? But this is the picture we had, and this is what we believed in. Then the same old dumb preacher taught us that heaven was the opposite. It was up in the sky. You know what he said? Hell is down there, and heaven is up there. Nothing here now. Everything is there. Down there and up there. Heaven, he said, was when you die and go up there. You wear long white robes and slippers, golden slippers, and a golden crown. What else? Yeah, milk and honey. I know you know what he said. And this concept that the preacher had given had the minds of our people in bad shape. But Master Farad taught the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and thousands of black people in Detroit that ain't no hell up yonder, and no heaven up yonder, and no hell down yonder. There's no heaven up there, and no hell down there. Why, those black people were shook up. Oh, yes, they were shook up because they had paid a price. All their lifetime they had suffered to keep them suffering. Oh, yeah. They had suffered at the hands of the white man and took it without fighting back, just so they could keep them having to suffer at the hands of the devil after they died. They had gone without everything. No clothes, no house, no nothing, no gold, no honey, no milk, no nothing, just so they could get some up yonder after they died. And when they found out that they had gone through all this for so long for nothing, I say they were shook up. Yeah, just like some of y'all shook up right now. Tell the truth. Some of y'all still believe that thing yesterday. In fact, some of y'all just come from church. Just a few moments ago, you was trying to make it in. Yeah. I heard you. I'm going there. You just a little while ago talking about yonder, over yonder, but up yonder. Your head is still in bad shape. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that Master Farad taught our people, taught him, that heaven is a condition and hell is a condition. Right here. He said when you poor, that's hell. When you're hungry, that's hell. When you're dumb, that's hell. You know what hell is. When you don't have rights, that's hell. When you're a slave, that's hell. When you can't find a job because your skin is the wrong color, you're in hell. And the devil is the one giving you hell. He got blue eyes, blonde hair, white skin. You can't deny that. You'd like to deny it, but you can't deny it because you have caught hell from the white man. You can't deny it. You have caught hell from the white man. I know you'll jump up and say, well, I caught some hell from some Negroes too. That's because they was acting like the white man. They weren't white, were they? But they were acting like the white man. Likewise, they weren't devils, but they were acting like the devil. But when you see that white man, he's a devil whether he act like one or not. If he don't say nothing, he's still the devil. If he don't do anything, he's still the devil. In fact, if he wasn't born, he'd just be an unborn devil. All praise is due to Allah. And Master Farad taught the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and our people that heaven is also a condition. He said that heaven is when you have freedom. You're in heaven. When you have justice, you're in heaven. When you have equality, you're in heaven. When you have security, peace, love, happiness, you're in heaven. When you're standing in the light so you can see everything that's happening, you're in heaven. But when you're in the dark and don't know what's happening, that's hell. Right or wrong? Well, you can't deny it. You know what hell is. But you don't know what heaven is. You've been away from heaven for a long time. 9,000 miles away from heaven. And 400 years away from heaven. All praise is due to Allah. You say, what do you mean 9,000 miles away from heaven? Heaven is home. Don't you know how you used to sing, gonna make heaven my home? No, you should be making home your heaven. All praise is due to Allah. So he said that the white man was the devil, is the devil. Won't always be the devil, because he won't always be here. He hasn't always been here and won't always be here. And when he taught the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that the white man is the devil, not an old devil down in the ground, but the white man said the devil was down in the ground to keep our people from knowing he was on top of the ground. Can't you see that? It's just a trick. He got all these Negroes looking elsewhere, thinking about someone else, and here he is, right on the scene all the time. Got you running around here catching all kind of hell, so you won't die and go to hell, and the devil gets you, and he keeps you so busy you don't have time to realize you're dead already, and the devil already got you. You got a devil in City Hall. You got a devil in the State House. You got a devil in the White House. Well, you got devils all over this earth, but not for long. Just as Master Farad taught the black people in Detroit in 1930, 31, 32, 33, that the white man is the devil, he also said what? That the black man is God. He said that the black people are the children of God. And you should have known that. You used to sit in church talking about, oh, God's children got you. Even the white man say about God's children, you know, children they call it. What do they mean children? Children. But they call it children because they couldn't talk the white man's language real good. So they would talk about God's children, and they never were talking about white children. They were never talking about white people at all. Whenever you hear any kind of song or any kind of story or any kind of phraseology about God's children, they're talking about black people. Right or wrong? Because the black man is the child of God. Now, if the black man is the child of God, when he grow up, what is he? He's God himself. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Master Farad taught the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that the black man is the original man. That's tough. Because when you say that the black man is the original man, that means that he is the man from whom all other men had their origin. Right or wrong? Which makes him the originator. That's tough. When you find the original man, you have found the origin of man. When you find the origin of man, you have the originator, the creator. up in the sky, but right here on this earth. The white man knows this. The white man fears this. The white man knows that Mr. Muhammad is teaching this. That's why the white man is shaken. This is truth. You can't fight this. You can't fight this. What you gonna fight it with? If it's truth, the only thing you're gonna fight it with is lies. And lies don't stand up against the truth. That truth don't even have to fight. All the truth got to do is sit there. And it got lie all shook up. Right or wrong. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was taught by Master Farad that the black man is the original man. He said that he's an Asiatic black man. What do you mean Asiatic black man? He also told him that the earth that we live on originally was called Asia. This wasn't called America. That's what the white man called it. What was it called before the white man got here? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says the planet wasn't originally called Earth. It was called Asia. And the original man on this planet was the black man, the Asiatic black man, or the black man of Asia. The brown man is an Asiatic. The red man is the Asiatic. The yellow man is an Asiatic. The black man is an Asiatic. But not the white man. He's not an Asiatic. The Asiatic is called an Oriental. Oriental means original. Oriental and original are the same word. Origin and orient are the same word. Same thing. The brown man is an Oriental. The black man is an Oriental. The red man is an Oriental. The yellow man is an Oriental. But the white man are Occidental. He is an Occidental. He is not an Oriental. He is not an original. Don't have no part of us. Don't look like us. Don't even smell like us. He's just different all the way around. What moves you and me doesn't move him. What reaches me and you can't even reach him. You play some sounds, brother, that'll knock you out. He don't even know you're playing. But when he see you doing the thing, he try and do the thing. But you can look at him and tell he just doing it because you're doing it. He's imitating you. But he missed the beat. Right or wrong? Why, you know what I'm saying is right. Just a different man. His sense of taste is different from yours. Why, he can't cook. All you need is some food. You can start to putting it in the pot and tasting some of this and tasting some of that, and when you get through, it'll knock anybody out. He need a book. That man don't have no taste. If he go by his taste, it don't reach you and me. Can you understand what I'm saying? Why, you know you understand. He's just a different man altogether. So Master Farad taught the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that the black man is the original man, the Asiatic black man. He also said he was the cream. Cream. The cream of the planet Earth. Pick up on that, cream. You know what cream is. You take a quart of milk. As long as the bottle is all shook up, you don't know what's happening. But when you let it alone, the cream always comes to the top. Same way with the planet Earth. Long as everything is all shook up. War, confusion, lying, fighting, bickering. You don't know what's happening. But whenever there's peace on earth, the cream will always come to the top. That's the black man. way the white man can be on top is through war. Only way the white man can be on top is through confusion, through argument, through upset. But you let peace come in, and the black man will come to the top just naturally. You don't have to fight. Just let him alone. And he come right on home. And his home is on top. You say, well, where's the white man's home? If the black man's home is on the top, do the white man belong on the bottom? No, he don't belong nowhere at all. The Honorable Elijah, Master Farad, also taught the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that the black man is the owner and the maker. The owner. Hey, you and I are running around here begging that cracker for a little piece of ground that already belongs to you. You begging him for a little piece of ground, and the earth belongs to you. The earth is yours. And when you know that the earth is yours, what's in the earth belongs to you. When you know that the earth is yours, the gold belongs to you. The silver belongs to you. The water belongs to you. Why, everything you need is right in the earth. You can grow some corn, some cotton. Not for the white man, but for yourself. Cotton picking, nothing wrong with cotton picking. It's just when you're picking somebody else's cotton. But when you're picking your own cotton, and cotton picking is good. All praise is due to our Lord. He did teach the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that the black man actually is the God. And you say, well, how can the black man be the God? He taught the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that the black man, the original man, who is the originator, the creator, the cream, the owner, the maker, is also the God. Every time you see a black man, you're looking at God. But he says that among the gods, there is a God of gods. The Bible tells you, among the gods, there is none like thee. Showing you that there are many gods, but among the gods, there is a God who's over all other gods. He's God of gods, Lord of lords, King of kings. He is Allah, all in all. He is the Most High God. In the East, the Most High God is called Ali. The all-powerful God is called Al-Aziz. The all-wise God is called Al-Hakim. The all-knowing God is called Al-Alim. But the name for all these powerful attributes is Allah, the supreme being. He's a being, like you and I are beings. But he is the being of beings. He's the supreme being. But he's a being. You're a being, aren't you? I'm a being. We all beings. And he's a being. Well, how does that being different from we beings? He's supreme being. We wise beings, but he's the wisest of the beings. He's the all-wise being, the all-knowing being, the all-powerful being, the most merciful being. So we call him Allah, all in all. All praise is due to Allah. He taught the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that all religions teach the coming of God in the last day. All religions point toward the coming of God in the last day. And all religions describe how this great God, when he comes in the last day, will reveal himself to one person from among a lost people. All religions point out how when God comes, he will manifest himself in the flesh, but he will manifest himself through one from the midst of a lost people. And these lost people are referred to as the lost sheep. It says that this great God will seek the lost sheep. He'll search for the lost sheep. And then when he finds them, he'll manifest himself through them, through one from among them. Can you understand that? It's like in the days of Noah, when God was going to destroy the world with the flood. he revealed himself not to the people, but he revealed himself to Noah. And when God was going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, he didn't reveal himself to the people. He revealed himself through Lot. When God was going to bring Pharaoh down to his knees and dash him to the bottom of the Red Sea, he didn't reveal himself to the people. He revealed himself through Moses, one whom he chose from the midst of the people. Can you understand that? God always speaks through one from the midst of the people. He doesn't come to them and talk to them himself, but he chooses one and speaks to them through that one. Back in the early 30s, Master Farad chose many helpers, chose ministers, captains, secretaries, officials. And among the ministers whom he chose, he took the one who had the least education. He was known then as Elijah Kareem, and put him over all the other ministers, made him the supreme minister. His name was, he was called then by Master Farad, Elijah Kareem. In Arabic, Kareem means one who is generous, one who is worthy of honor. And Master Farad knew that the generous nature that was a part of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's makeup would compel him to be generous with the wisdom that Master Farad was going to leave with him. He would be generous with it. By nature, he would be compelled to spread it freely among his people. He told, after teaching the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he taught him to teach other ministers. Master Farad taught the Honorable Elijah Muhammad direct. And then it was up to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to teach the other ministers and to teach the other Muslims, to teach the so-called Negroes. Just as in the Bible, when you read the story of Joseph, as long as Joseph was an ordinary brother, on the same level with his other brothers, they all loved him. But when Joseph began to tell them that he had a dream, first his father gave him a coat that the others didn't have, a coat of many colors. And when Joseph's father favored him above them, they became jealous. As long as there wasn't no coat to get jealous about, they were all brothers. But as soon as one of them got a coat like the others didn't have, they became jealous of him. They thought that their father had too much love, too much more love for that one than he had for them. You know, that's something to think about. Then when Joseph began to dream dreams, and he saw their corn stalks bound down to his corn stalks, he told his father. And his father told him, don't tell your brothers that dream. Because his father was wise and he knew what that dream meant. And he knew that Joseph's brothers would see into it also. But as soon as Joseph told this dream to his brothers, and they began to see that Joseph was destined for greatness, that Joseph was destined for high places, and that Joseph was destined to occupy a position of authority over them, it was then the jealousy that was dormant in their hearts began to dominate their character and come forth until it finally developed into hatred for Joseph. And when they hated him, it finally overtook them to the point where they weren't satisfied until they chased him down and put him in a pit and sold him down into the land of Egypt to be a slave in the hands of his enemy. This is what jealousy does. Jealousy makes you blind. Jealousy makes you so you can't see. Jealousy makes you so you can't think. Jealousy makes you so it's impossible for you to be progressive. Do you understand? Jealousy closes your heart. It closes your eye. It closes your ear. And it makes you do the wrong thing. Same thing happened to Abel. Abel and Cain. Cain and Abel. Long as there were no blessings, they were brothers. But as soon as it looked like God favored Abel over Cain, Cain got jealous.
Well, he was jealous all the time, but he didn't know it. It was dormant within his nature. And this act of from God showering blessings upon Abel nourished the seed of jealousy that up to then had been dormant in Cain's heart. And this jealousy took a grip on Cain. And finally it overcome him. He couldn't control it. It got out of control. And he could not quell the urge that he had to kill his own brother Abel. Same thing happened with David. David was the most humble and the youngest of all his brothers. He was not a warrior or a soldier. His brothers were in Saul's army. They was out fighting Goliath, the giant. They weren't winning. They were just in the army, talking that army talk. And Goliath was walking back and forth, had them so scared they didn't know they were soldiers. Am I right or wrong? They called themselves being in God's army. Yet they were scared of the giant, walking back and forth at a distance. And finally little David, who believed in God, and his belief in God made him fearless. His belief in God made him willing to lay down his life to take the head of God's enemy. And this belief, this faith that he had in God, brought him down to the battlefield. And when his brothers saw him coming, instead of being happy to see him, instead of rejoicing at the sight of their brother, they began to ask themselves, who do he think he is? Isn't that what they said? Who do he think he is? What's he putting down? Why isn't he out there with the sheep? What are he doing out here with us men? What's this boy doing in the company of soldiers? And they told Saul, when they found out that they couldn't deter or stop or discourage David from tackling the giant, then Saul began to tell him, say, look, well, here, take this sword and take my armor. David told him, I don't need that. It haven't helped you. You haven't done anything with it. But I'm relying on God. I don't need anybody but God. And I can go. Now, he wasn't passive. Don't think because David said he was leaning on God that he was passive and that he was against violence. He just said he believed in God. And he was going to lean on God and rely on God. He knew that God would give him the only weapon that he needed. And it goes on to show how David went on and put a rock upside Goliath's head. Put a rock upside Goliath's head. His brothers didn't go for him going up against the giant. But he went on anyway. After he put a stone upside Goliath's head and brought him down and laid him on the ground, he took Goliath's sword and chopped off his head. He was the one to do it. God had chosen him to kill Goliath before he was even born. God had chosen Joseph to be sold into slavery and to become the ruler of the house of bondage before Joseph was even born. God had chosen Abel to please him, to be the recipient of his blessings before Abel was ever born. And it was the same. God chose the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to occupy the position of messenger, leader and teacher for 20 million black people here in America before America was ever discovered, before you and I were ever brought here. It was written that the Lamb, that this little meek and humble man would be raised up from the so-called Negro in this day and time. Do you understand that? I heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad say that when Master Farad was teaching, he used to listen to him. He listened to him real careful. And he noticed that whenever Master Farad was teaching, he'd be carried away. And he wasn't talking about what someone was going to come and do to the devil, but he noticed that this man was talking about what he was going to do. He didn't talk like he was looking for some help, but he talked independent. He talked like one who needed no help. He never talked like someone told him so and so, but he talked like what he knew. He was independent. He listened carefully. And he began to think back all of what he had read in the Bible about this one who was supposed to come in the last day and about what this one would do when he come in the last day. And he said that he believed every word that fell from the lips of Master Farad. He said he never heard a word that Master Farad uttered that he didn't believe. And because he believed him, he listened to him with an open heart, with an open mind, and with open ears. Because he listened with an open heart, an open mind, and open ears, he learned what others could not. He heard what the others couldn't hear. He saw what the others couldn't see. He understood what the others couldn't understand. He looked and saw Master Farad as he was. He knew who he was. He began to teach the others there in Detroit to call him prophet. They were calling him prophet because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, this man is fulfilling all prophecy. And then as he listened some more, he began to teach them to call him the Savior, because he sure is saving us from the condition that we were in. He's saving us from the clutches of our enemies. He told them that this man is the finder of the lost sheep, and he's given life to the lost sheep. They begin to refer to Master Farad as the finder and the life giver, the Redeemer. Those wherein you and I had once been taught and thought that the Redeemer was someone that was born 2,000 years ago. As the Honorable Elijah Muhammad listened to the teachings of Master Farad, he could see that the so-called Negroes, the lost sheep, needed redeeming from your and my enemy. And they could see that the teachings that were coming from the lips, the mouth of Master Farad was giving us life, was redeeming us from the clutches of this devil. He recognized him as the Messiah. He knew that it was written that a Messiah would come in the last day, and that the Messiah was someone who would travel all over the world seeking to save that which was lost. That the Messiah was one who was to come in the last day seeking the lost sheep, seeking the lost tribes who would be found in the house of Israel. He wouldn't be seeking to find the lost tribes of the house of Israel. You got it wrong. But he would be seeking to find the lost tribes who would be in the house of Israel. America is the house of Israel. This is the house of Israel. And you and I are the sheep that have been lost in the house of Israel. Do you understand? Those old Jews, those old blue-eyed things, those aren't no lost sheep. Those things have never been lost. They got all your money. They're your landlord. They're your boss. Right or wrong? You got a Jew who is the spokesman for the president. You got a Jew who's senators in the United States Senate. Barry Goldwater is a Jew. What is his name? Ribicoff is a Jew. Dillon, the Secretary of Treasury, is a Jew. Yeah, he is. His old father was a Polish Jew. He changed his name to Dillon so you wouldn't know him. But our eyes are open. We see him. We know him. No, you can't say no Jew is lost. He got all your money. He got his money and your money too. How you going to say he's lost? The Jew knows his language. He knows his own name. He knows his own flag. He knows his own people. No, you're the one that's lost. You don't know yourself. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad knew that the Messiah was the one who was to come in the last day. And he knew that Master Farad, the one who was teaching them, was fulfilling everything about which it had been written about the Messiah. That when it had been written that this Messiah would search the earth, he would come from the east and appear in the west. He would leave heaven and make his abode in hell. He would leave the place of peace and security and make his place and take his place in the house of bondage in the midst of his people. He would reveal himself in the house of bondage in the midst of his people. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad began to teach our people in Detroit that this is the Messiah. This is the Christ who was to come. This is the one who was to come and has come. This is the one about whom the Bible refers to as the second coming of Christ. He says that Christ only means a destroyer. The word Christ.
And it's true. You can look in the dictionary and it will tell you that in other languages, Christ means a destroyer. This title is given to the one who's to come in the last day, because when he finds his people in the clutches of their enemies, he's supposed to save them. He's supposed to separate them from the enemy and then destroy the enemy. So they call him the Christ. He's referred to in the Bible also as the destroyer of the Gentiles. Well, anybody who's been to school knows that a Gentile is a white man. Nothing but an old blue-eyed white man. I know some of y'all thought y'all was Gentiles too, but that y'all thought you was white. But a Gentile is a white man. You and I are neither Jews nor Gentiles. A Gentile is no good and a Jew isn't any good. You say, there you go, talking that old hate talk. No, the Bible says the Bible says there's not a good Jew and there's not a good Gentile. Let me read it to you. Yeah, it says, there's no difference between the Jew and the Greek. Is this what I want? Yeah, no, I'm in the wrong. But there's no difference between the Jew and the Greek. They're all the same. In the 3rd chapter of the Romans, it says, for we have before proved both Jews and Gentiles. All are under sin. As it is written, there is none good. There is none righteous. No, not one. Pick up on that. I'm glad you told me where that was. There's none of them no good. And over here in another place it says, in one of these Corinthians, in the 1st Corinthians in the 10th chapter it says, but I say, this is Paul talking. Now you know all y'all talking about what Paul said. Listen to me. Let me read you what Paul said. But I say, the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils. Pick up on that. And not to God. And I would not that you have fellowship with devils. Look what he said. He said a Gentile is a devil. A Gentile ain't nothing but a devil. And he said you're not supposed to fellowship with no devil. You're not supposed to integrate with no devil. If you can't fellowship with him, you're not supposed to integrate with him. Right or wrong? That hurts your heart, doesn't it, brother? Oh, yeah, it does. Yeah, that hurts. I remember a brother come to the mosque in New York one day. He just had got to the city from the cotton patch. And he had been dreaming all his life about when he got up north, he going to get him a job or steal some money and get him a Cadillac and a white woman. That was his dream. And you know how that dream is because you dreamed it. And when he got off the train, it happened he ran into a Muslim brother. He was just looking around at the tall buildings, you know, going crazy. And the brother caught him while he was looking up. And brought him to the mosque. And that brother had spent his whole lifetime thinking about the day when he just got to New York City and could get him a white woman. And when he sat there and listened to that teaching, he was shook up. He was tore up. All his plans were just, it took a lifetime to lay those plans. In 1 minute to tear them up. This is true. He's a Muslim brother today. He changed his plan. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad changed his plan. So this is what's supposed to happen in the last day when the Christ comes. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad recognized that the one who was teaching was fulfilling what it was said about the Messiah, fulfilling what it was said about the Christ.
And also what it says in Muslim theology about the Mahdi. Mahdi means one who is self-guided. Don't need no advice. Don't need no guidance. He's self-guided. He's so wise, he guides himself. That's God. Can't nobody guide himself but God. So the Mahdi is a title of God when he'll come in the last day. The Messiah is a title for God when he comes in the last day. The Christ is a title for God when he comes in the last day. But when he comes, how will he come? That's what Jesus' disciples asked. How will he come? And Jesus answered and says, as lightning comes from the east and shines unto the west, so shall the coming of what? The Son of Man be. Pick up on it now. So shall the coming of the Son of a Man. Not the Son of a Spirit. Not the Spirit of a Spirit. Not the Father of a Spirit. Spirit is not even mentioned. But this one, this God, is one who in the last day will be born and will come in the flesh. He'll be the Son of a Man. He's referred to as the Son of Man. But he'll be born in the east. He'll leave the east and come to the west. But he'll be God in person. He'll be Allah in person. I know that's hard to take. Oh, yeah, that's hard to take. I hear you. You say, what you mean, man? You seeing that God is born? You said Jesus was born. If Jesus can be born, can't God be born? You said Jesus was God. That's what you said. It says here in the Bible, in the 9th chapter of Isaiah, for unto us a child is born. Unto us a son is given. And the government shall be upon his shoulder. His name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God. Pick up on that now. That's in the 9th chapter of Isaiah. And in the 6th verse, it says that, for unto us a child is born, a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. He's going to establish a new government, a new kingdom, a new world. This is what he's born for. He'll be born at the end of the wicked world for the purpose of establishing a righteous world. In fact, he will be born to destroy the world and create a new world. And his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. That's beautiful, isn't it? And of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no more, there shall be no end. Now you know this couldn't have been Jesus. It said when he set up his government, there won't be no end to it. Jesus didn't get a chance to set up no government. They hung him on the cross. In fact, they nailed him to the cross. And he cried out, Lord, if there's any way I can get out of this, don't let it happen to me. Isn't that what he did? Yes, that's what he did. They say that Jesus got so scared, the book said that the sweat come off his brow. Didn't they call the sweat blood? Yeah, he was sweating, brother. You know, you sweating when you sweat blood. You sweating when you sweat sweat. This man sweat blood. So he will be born at the end of this man's world. Be born at the end of the wicked kingdom. And he'll set up his own kingdom. A righteous kingdom. A kingdom in which he himself will be king. He himself will be the prince of princes. He'll make all his people princes. And he'll be the prince of those princes. He'll make all those who follow him kings. And he'll be the King of kings. He'll make all those who follow him lords. And he'll be the Lord of lords. He'll make all those who follow him gods. But he'll be the God of gods. Is that right or wrong? All praise is due to Allah. How will he do it? The book says when he comes and chooses one from the midst of these people, he will give that one a thorough knowledge of himself. He'll walk and talk with that one. He'll teach that one the secret of the Godhead. This is how it says. It says when he comes, he'll come as lightning from the east and shine unto the west. He'll creep in as lightning does under the cover of darkness. He'll come and go so fast you won't know he's been there until he's gone. Right or wrong? You don't see no lightning. You saw lightning. Before you know what it is, it was. Same way with God in the last day. Before the people know he's here, he'll be gone. It says, behold, he'll come without observation. And he also says he'll come as a thief. He won't be a thief, but he'll come as a thief. Why he'll come as a thief? Because his people have been stolen by thieves. And his people are in the clutches of a den of thieves. His people are in a house that has been established upon thievery. Right or wrong? His people will be stolen from the east and will be found in the west. Therefore, as lightning from the east shines unto the west, God in the last day, if he wants to save his people, will have to leave the east and come into the west. And since his people have been stolen by the thieves of the west, in order for God to come into their midst and free his people from the clutches of these thieves, he has to make himself look like a thief. He has to take upon himself the appearance of one of the thieves. He can't come looking like his people. He can't come looking like his children. He can't come looking like one of the brothers. He has to come looking like the thief. So it says, behold, he cometh as a thief. He'll come as a thief, but he won't be a thief. But in order to come without observation, in order to come so he won't be observed and known by the thieves, he has to come as a thief. You all understand that? No, you don't. In the 43rd chapter of Isaiah, he says, and the 5th verse, fear not. That's God talking. Who are he talking to? Talking to his people. He said, fear not. Why? For I am with thee. I didn't used to be, but I am now. You should have been afraid yesterday, but you don't have to be afraid today. I saw you from a long ways off when you used to walk in front of the white man. And you'd be so scared your knees would be knocking and your head would be itching. You scratched when you didn't itch because you were scared. But you were scared because you didn't have nobody to protect you. You didn't have no one to lean on. You had neither a sword nor shield. But he says, now fear not, for I am with thee. I'll bring thy seed from the east and gather thee from the west. Look here, what'll I do? I'll round up all your black, brown, red, and yellow people back home. They outnumber this man. There's 4,400,000,000 of them, and only only 400 million of these. These outnumber these 11 to 1. Look at here. 11 to 1, brother. 11 to 1. When you got someone outnumbered 11 to 1, you don't need no bomb. All you got to do is sit down on that one. And you're a man. Fear not, for I am with thee. I will bring thy seed from the east and gather thee from the west. Oh, that's good news. That's about the best news I've heard in a long time. He said, don't worry about a thing, because in the last day I'm going to wake all your people up all over the earth, and I'm going to pull the cover off this beast. And when I pull the cover off of him and make the whole world see him as he is, he's going to be in trouble. And it says, and the sixth angel poured out his vial. This is in Revelations in the 16th chapter and the 12th verse. Poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up. How come? In order that the way for the kings of the east might be prepared. You see how God is always talking? All throughout the book, he lets you know that some action is coming from the east. Some action is coming from the east. Some action is coming from the east. All praise is due to Allah. You see, whenever today the Honorable Elijah Muhammad or any of his ministers are teaching or spreading or conveying truth to our people, you always have to keep aware that the wolf have sent his stool pigeons in to listen to what you say, which we don't mind, because we're supposed to convert the stool pigeon too. Oh yeah, he need to be taught. If he didn't, he wouldn't be no stool pigeon. He need teaching more than anybody else. When I say he, they got some she stool pigeons too. I guess you call the she stool pigeon a pigeoness. I just stopped long enough to point that out so you won't think I'm talking wild. No, I know what I'm saying. And I know you have. And I know you have. All praise is due to Allah. So it says that God in the last day, the Messiah, the Christ, the Mahdi, the Son of Man, the one who will leave the east and come to the west, will search and find the lost sheep. And when he finds the lost sheep, they'll be in bad shape. They'll be mentally dead. They'll be spiritually dead. They'll be socially dead, economically dead, politically dead. But God will search among these dead people, these dead sheep, and choose a lamb as his own. Choose one from among them as his own. He'll be dead just like the others. He'll be dumb just like the others. Look what it says in here about him. You've got to excuse me for going into this book. But you in it, so I got to go in it. It says, behold my servant, whom I uphold. Talking about this man that he'll find in our midst. Mine elect, in whom my soul delights. This one that I've chosen from the midst of these hard-headed sheep, these stiff-necked sheep. But I've cleaned him up. I'm pleased with him. He delights my soul. I've put my spirit upon him. And he, pick up on this, he shall bring forth judgment to the Gentiles. He, that one I chose, that little dumb one, that one from Georgia, that one that haven't been to school, that's the one I'm going to choose. And he'll bring forth judgment to the Gentiles. He'll shut their mouth. shall not fail nor be discouraged. He won't fail, and he won't be discouraged. Why? He knows God is with him. He knows God is behind him. God is his sword. Don't need no weapon because God is his sword. Don't need no shield because God is his shield. He shall not fail nor be discouraged until he has set judgment in the earth, and the isles shall wait for his law. So the people say, well, how are we going to follow him? We don't know what to do. We dumb. We are this and we that. And so God said, who is as blind as my servant was? And no, none of y'all as blind as he was. Now he can see so much, he's showing you the way. Pick up on that, brother. Who is blind or as deaf as my messenger? Don't tell me you can't hear. Don't tell me you can't understand. Because once he couldn't hear. Once he couldn't understand. Now he understands so much, he makes you understand. All praise is due to Allah. But he goes on talking about you. This is a people robbed and spoiled. Been robbed of your name, robbed of your language, robbed of your culture, robbed of your mind. You've been robbed of your backbone. And now you spoiled. They're all snared in holes, hidden in prison houses. They are for a prey, and no one delivers. For a spoil, and no one says restore. All praise is due to us. A dead people. So the book says that the one whom God will choose from the midst of these people is likened unto a lamb who will be made spotless, without a spot or a blemish. A lamb without fault. All of these are descriptions in the Bible of the last messenger in the last day. The one who's in America, who has been raised from the midst of the so-called Negroes and is here in the person of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He's referred to in the book as the first begotten of the dead. This wasn't Jesus 2,000 years ago. There wasn't nobody dead 2,000 years ago. Plus, when you're physically dead, that's it. Look at here. Could Jesus have been the first begotten of the dead? I ask you, could he? Let's say, yeah, he was. We'll say, yeah, he was. Now we'll prove it to see if he was. First begotten of the dead means the first one raised from the dead. And y'all say that Jesus come back from the cross. And he's referred to, supposed to be, as the first begotten. But before Jesus died, Lazarus died. And Jesus, in the book said Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead before Jesus died. So Jesus can't be the first begotten. Lazarus was the first begotten. But if he raised Lazarus from the dead, where's Lazarus now? Where is he? I mean, where is he? You're sitting in the church getting happy because you said Jesus raised the dead. Where is this one he raised from the dead? Where did Lazarus go? Where is Lazarus now? Did Lazarus die again? If he did, then Jesus didn't do right by him. You don't raise nobody from the dead and let him go on and die again. That's not fair. But even Lazarus couldn't be regarded as the first begotten of the dead, because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad shows us where Elijah raised the widow's son long before Lazarus was ever raised. Can you see that? So when the book says the first begotten of the dead is only pointing toward the messenger or the servant of God who will be raised, the first one raised from the grave of ignorance, the mentally dead so-called Negroes in the last day, who is also referred to in the book as the first fruit from among those that slept, from among the sleeping so-called Negroes, or who is also referred to as the only begotten Son of the Father, which only means that in the last day, when God comes, although many will see him, they won't know him. He'll be in their midst, but they'll look upon him as just another man from the east. They won't know who he is. They'll call him Master Farah, but they won't know his real identity. They won't know that this is the supreme being in their midst. But it is written that one from among them will recognize God. And that one who will recognize him will be the one whom he will choose as his son. Not his physical son, but his spiritual son. A man-child. A man who will become as a child and let God teach him. A man-child. A full-grown man who will be like a child in the clutches or in the hands of his God. Just as Joseph was chosen from his brothers, above his brothers, and David was chosen by God above his brothers, and Abel was chosen by God over his brother, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was chosen by God above and beyond all the so-called Negroes in North America. And after Master Farad left the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in 1934, those over whom he was placed became jealous of him. Just like Joseph's brothers became jealous of him. Just as David's brothers became jealous of him. And just as Abel's brother became jealous of him and tried to slay him. Those over whom the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was placed became jealous of him and tried to slay him. He had to flee for his life. He spent 7 years fleeing through the wilderness, just as Elijah spent 7 years in the cave. He spent 7 years along the East Coast, fleeing from city to city. He would never spend more than a day or a few days in any one city. He could never visit his wife and his children. They had stakeouts around his house to try and watch when he would come back so that they could take his life. Through jealousy, through envy. And some of them were just paid by the white man to do so. He didn't flee because he was afraid. He didn't run because he was trying to save his life itself. But he knew that God had been here. And he knew that God had left the message of truth within him. That he was like a book. God had made him like a book. Filled him with wisdom. And that would be opened up at a certain time. For the truth that was within him to be released for the benefit of the people. So he fled not to save his life, but to save the message that God had deposited within him. Can you understand this? And after fleeing 7 years in the wilderness, in 1942 he was arrested by the government in Washington, D.C. and sent to prison under the pretext that he was a draft dodger. Wasn't no draft dodger. He just wouldn't go to the war. He was a religious man who taught the religion of peace, who wasn't going to take part in no war. So the white man put him in jail under the pretext that he was a draft dodger. But actually, the only reason they jailed him was to keep him from teaching the truth to the so-called Negroes. 7 years he was away from his home. Then 5 more years he was put in prison. A total of 12 years. This man, this black man, sacrificed away from his loved ones, away from his wife, away from his children, away from his family, so he could live, so he could prepare himself to deliver the American so-called Negro. No man has paid a greater price or made a greater sacrifice for the benefit of the so-called Negroes than has the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. When he went to prison in 1942 and came out in 1946, he only had 4 temples or mosques. This was what the white man was trying to shut down. Shortly after he came out of prison, his teaching began to spread more rapidly then than it did before. So that wherein in 1942 when he went to prison, or 46 when he came out, there were only 4 mosques in 4 cities. Today there's not a state or a city where there's any sizable number of our people that doesn't have a mosque, Muhammad's mosque, spreading the truth that God gave to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in every city, in every community. And now today, it's not enough to have them in every city. Today, mosques are going up in every community. Soon you'll see a mosque on every corner. Churches will close up. Churches can't stand in the face of truth. Oh yeah, they'll close up. They're in trouble now. The preacher have a hard time getting people to go to church. And he can't get none of them moved. Preacher just don't get no ghosts moving in the church no more. You don't find nobody getting no Holy Ghost nowadays, do you? Or do you? No, it's times are changing. God has visited America. God has raised the Honorable Elijah Muhammad from the midst of our people in America and has missioned him to spread truth among our people here in America. And has told him in advance the price he'll have to pay in order to raise this dead nation. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told Almighty God, my prayer, my life and my death, my prayer and my sacrifice are all for Allah, the Lord of the world. He have told Allah he will give his life to raise the American so-called Negro. He'll give his life to see that you and I get freedom, justice, and equality. He has promised God that there is no, told God that there is no price, prison, death, poverty, torture, pain. Nothing is too great for him to pay. No price is too great for him to pay to save the American so-called Negro. And brothers and sisters, when you and I know that God has given you and me a leader and a teacher who will give his children, who will give his wife, who will give his every possession so that truth can be spread among our people, so that unity and harmony can be developed among our people, so that progress can be made with our people, why you and I should stand up and also say, my life and my death, my prayer and my sacrifice are all for Allah, to help the Honorable Elijah Muhammad get this mission accomplished. So on that note, I bring my talk to a close as I greet you in the name of Allah and his messenger, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Salaam alaikum. All praise is due to Allah. Brothers and sisters, it is those of us who are followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and those of you who have been reading about the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad all these years, you see the great work that he's doing. He's actually bringing about a reformation among our people that the theologians and sociologists and what else you have all considered to be hopeless. Yet both his critics, white critics and black critics, have to admit that the transformation he has brought about among us is a miraculous event in itself. And all the Honorable Elijah Muhammad asks of you and me is that we help him. He said, you don't have to get out there and face the fire. He'll face it. You don't have to get in the furnace. He said, he'll get in the furnace. You don't have to go to jail. He said, he'll go to jail. You don't have to suffer no pain. He said, he'll suffer the pain. All he asks you to do is help him. Be glad to help him. Be willing to help him. Know that it takes something to reach our people, and be willing to make that sacrifice necessary to put him in that position to reach our people. And when you get this spirit, this attitude, this understanding, why it's impossible for you and me to not be successful. Now, before we have our question period, we would like to take this opportunity to take up a collection. We know that those of you who are here in Los Angeles, especially in Los Angeles, you know the tremendous expense that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has been going to because of the trouble that some of our brothers here got into, and we want to give you an opportunity to help in this program. And don't ever think, and this goes for brothers, sisters, children, white, black, green, yellow, Christian, Muslim, Jew, atheist, agnostic, even the stool pigeons who come. You should come down here and give something for the cause of Islam. When I say don't be putting nickels and dimes in there, nickels and dimes won't help fight this battle.